What happens when life brings you to your knees? When panic attacks, fear, and a dark night of the soul strip everything you thought you knew. For Janis King, that breaking point became an awakening. Out of the collapse came clarity, and from that clarity, the Life Code Tarot deck and the Life Code book were born. A map for navigating the shadows and remembering who we really are. Now, before we dive in, if you're here because you're seeking truth, healing, and transformation, make sure to subscribe and share this episode with someone who's ready for their own awakening. Every conversation here is meant to inspire your journey and remind you you're not alone. Welcome, Janice. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm very happy to be here and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've been working hard on this conversation. So let's just jump right in. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I would like it if you could go a little bit deeper into the trauma you experienced and how your personal healing journey got you where you are today and into the work that you do.
Yes. I mean, I had a very, very traumatic 3 years where I literally lost everything. I lost my business, my marriage, and my house. And it just literally all like dominoes, it fell and it broke down. Everything broke down over a 48-hour period. And then that elongated out over the course of 3 years. And my journey with tarot started at the beginning of that when I connected through a meditation. I was led directly to a specific reader who basically gave me an explanation as to what had happened. And apparently I had opened Pandora's box by making a specific request. And my request was, give me what I need to make everything all right, because everything was not all right, for sure.
Yeah.
And then beware of what you ask for. You'll always get what you want. So yeah, that was what I did. And so he told me my life was being taken apart and put back together, and I was being moved to a new path, which I roundly refused. I was furious about the whole thing and furious that this was happening. This was not what I said I had asked for at all. He said, well, never mind, this is happening. That ship has sailed. We are where we are, and you can't take it back now. So he explained to me there was going to be a very difficult 3 years, and there would be angels that walked either side, both human and energetic. And I was not impressed with any of this at all. The 3 years did prove to be extremely difficult. And I went so far down into that deep hole that I really didn't see a future. I didn't see a life I wanted to live. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that I was going to end my life. I wasn't, because I have children. But I couldn't see a life I wanted to live. And there are two different things.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I was going to have to live it. But I didn't know how I was going to live it. That seemed like a bit of a closed door to me. And so I went through a long period where I'd been running a record company. I'd had a complete breakdown. As I said, my marriage had broken down. I had left. My husband had some mental health problems which had snowballed. I found myself living in a place that I couldn't afford, going more and more into debt. Not because the place was expensive, just because I didn't have any income. Mm-hmm. And I ended up taking work painting garden cabins, and that would have been okay if it hadn't been February. So I was basically dealing with the aftermath of all this of this awful situation. And I would turn up for work. I'd get up at 6. I'd be on the job by 8. Sometimes the paint wouldn't have dried from the day before because it was too cold. So I was cracking paint icicles off and attempting to sand it down and repaint it. I was having panic attacks throughout the day. And what I would do when that happened, panic or anxiety attacks, I don't really know which was which, but all I know was it was pretty brutal. And when that happened, I would feel it coming. And so what I would do is I would take myself away from sight of anybody else. I would go and hide somewhere out of sight and then literally just let it happen and just kind of let the wave just take it. And that might last 10 minutes, it might last 20. And then when it was done, I would take myself back and I would go back to work. And it was, you know, I ended up with a terrible chest infection, but I didn't go to the doctor because I couldn't afford to take the time off work. And so I ended up not being able to breathe hardly at all. It was a really, really difficult time. I was having cluster migraines, and those migraines turned into what's called a hemiplegic migraine, which means it's almost like you become paralyzed. So when the migraine gets going, you lose the power of speech and you can't move. So your brain to muscle communication just goes. And so if you're standing up and it tips over the balance, your legs just go. It's not because you've passed out. It's just because your legs have got no communication with your brain. I couldn't speak, and I would start to lose my words. I would start to sort of go, and it was very scary, very scary.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, yeah, all of that was going on all at the same time, but underneath it all, I was still meditating, and I had a creative project that had sort of come out of the blue that was kind of giving me a reason to be, even though in the face of doing it, I would constantly berate myself for being indulgent. And yet the project seemed to lead the way, and lots of synchronicities and angels apparently came in to make the project possible. And the project was I created a chandelier from recycled glass. I couldn't afford a light shade in this apartment, which was possibly the point. So I made this thing, and out of scraps of glass, a friend of mine who I met through tarot, actually, who was an art teacher, showed me how to fuse glass. I had no experience, and I just walked it 2 steps at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that led me through, that led me out. And of course, it's light, isn't it? It's light.
Yes.
So yeah, but it was a hell of a ride for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I was kind of in a similar situation, so I can pick up on some of that stuff. I do realize the resilience that it takes to get through something like that. So I honor that and I empathize with that with you because it's not an easy thing to work through things like that. Like I was almost homeless myself, and I was on the road for about 8 months in 2022, and there were so many different things. So I understand, and I can feel what that feels like in being in that kind of a situation, and without knowing, it's like the other shoe's going to drop, or the ground's going to fall out from under you, or the light's going to go out. So but that was a beautiful story. Knowing parts of that story that you had shared with me prior to coming on here, it's just powerful. I mean, it's not easy to do that, especially in our societies as a woman, trying to figure things out. Sometimes it just kind of explodes in our faces. So yeah, so thank you for sharing that. I wanted to get into I see it in the background. I want to get into your tarot and your book, because I did get a chance to kind of review the book part a little bit, but I'm going to let you talk about it, because if you could kind of like share what led you to doing the tarot deck and the book, and then tell us what it is, to share about what the tarot deck is like, and then share some of what's in the book.
Yeah. Well, again, if I revisit my statement, be careful what you ask for.
Right.
So basically, I kind of did it again. You'd think you'd know, you'd think you'd learn, wouldn't you? By the way, I just want to say that actually at the tail end, one of the things that particular tarot reader told me was, he said, you should know your husband has unconditional love for you. That isn't important now, but I'm just telling you, my husband are in fact back together, and my husband is medicated properly, and he is himself properly as well.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. So give me what I need to make everything all right, I guess. But I asked again, and I asked because I felt that my practice had plateaued, and I felt that there was something more that I really was looking for, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to reach it. So I asked, as you do, I'd like to go to the next stage, please.
Is that how you asked it? Is that how you did it?
Yeah. So,
the
first thing that happened was, because my husband is now medicated now, at that point, he was not. And we had gone into a whole lot of holistic stuff and diet, and that was really helping. Everything in my life, again, hit the deck. My parents had a freak out and got really upset with me over something so bizarre and so weird. And my husband took himself off. He left like that. I thought we were doing well. What the hell?
Excuse me for a second, Janice. Did this particular thing happen during the 3 years, or did this happen after when you were getting ready to do the tarot?
This is what brought about the book.
Gotcha.
And the
Okay.
well, this is the next. This was 6 months. This was not 3 years.
Well, that's a little better.
Yeah, but what happened was everybody left. My kids just went, we can't deal with this drama. We just need to step out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I found myself in our cottage again, like totally alone and in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sobbing. I couldn't believe that this has all happened again. And I knew, I said to a friend of mine, this is orchestrated. This feels orchestrated. It just all happened. What the hell? And I ended up going to Arthur Findlay, which was the spiritual college. And that was because I needed a thing. I mean, I won't talk you through the whole process, but it was, again, synchronicities lined up. I ended up there. That was an experience that was so bizarre that it was crazy. I had a disembodied, energetic being step into my body. I felt it break the physical boundary of my body.
At the school?
Yeah.
I'm going to do some more research on this place, because I've actually interviewed about 5 people, I think it's been, that have been to that school. And they've all said something kind of similar, apparently. Okay.
Yeah, it is an amazing place. If you're thinking of going, go. You'd never regret it. It's a place that got an amazing energy. It's like Hogwarts, but real life. It's just weird.
Right. That's why I'm curious, because I like Hogwarts. I like the Harry Potter stuff. So
yeah. A big old British country house. It's like a huge manor. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, it is incredible. So that happened, and then when I got back, I felt like my brain was fizzing. I mean, I've never taken Coke, but I would imagine that's how it feels. It's like
yeah,
kind of somebody's and then it's called current inside, and then the life code thing came about because I went to visit my son, and we were messing around, and we laid the tarot out, and I started seeing connections I hadn't seen before, and I wanted to see those connections linked in color, in energy. And I was using the Rider-Waite deck at the time, and you couldn't see them clearly. You could see them if you really looked, but they're sort of hidden in amongst the symbolism, and I wanted to see it really lit up. So I came back and started to think, okay, well, maybe I need to create a deck that reflects these connections. But it was only the very start of it. Then the friend that had taken me to Arthur Finley said, oh, by the way, just to let you know, I wasn't teaching tarot at all. I found you a tarot client, and you're gonna teach her a master's course. And I've told her how much it is, by the way, and she wants to go ahead as soon as possible. And I said, but I don't teach. She said, no, you do now. I said, no, I don't. I don't teach. See, she'd come with me to Arthur Finney. She hated it. She just couldn't. She was meant to take me, is what she was meant to do. She was like a guide. Anyway, she told me how much she'd quoted this person for this tarot course. And I went, what? And she said, no, I've agreed it. It's all agreed. It's all agreed. You have to start teaching her within 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't have a course. I'm making a deck. She went, no, you'll do it. It's all right. Here's her number, call her. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you have to recognize that things are in alignment. And it felt too pat. It felt like it was part of something. So I said, okay, well, look, I'm making this deck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and I'm going to write this course around what I'm doing with this new deck. And making the course was what brought the whole system to life. Because I didn't know how the system was going to work when I started writing the course. It was only through writing the course that I was shown it bit by bit by bit. And I wrote the modules ahead of her.
Nice. Okay. Well, they teach that is like sometimes you don't have to write the entire course. You just write it like each step. Is that what you're saying you did?
Oh, yeah, I didn't have a course at all.
Wow.
No, I wrote down the outline for a fairly standard tarot course, and then just started writing it. And as I started writing it, oh my God, all hell broke loose. It's like I can't.
What's crazy? That's so crazy how that works.
I had seen all these connections, but I had seen the top layer. But there were great parts of it that I didn't know if it would actually work.
Right.
The detail of it was not clear. And so we have 4 suits in tarot. We have cups, wands, swords, and pentacles. And when I looked at this one before I started building the deck, when we looked at the connection between the suit of cups and the major arcana cards, the high priestess and the lovers, that was an obvious link.
Yes.
And I just needed to flesh that out, and that seemed fairly clear. And then when we looked at the suit of wands, I thought, okay, well, that kind of works too. Again, we need to, how is justice going to work? How are they going to fit? And then when we look at the suit of swords, we've got the hanged man to the tower. So we've got a very challenging section, which the suit of swords is all about. So, okay, that kind of works. But the last one, which is the start of the world, that was by default, because that's the only one left, the suit of pentacles. And I had literally no clue as to how those cards were going to relate in. I was panicking. I thought, I could get to the end of this course.
Let me ask you a real quick question, because not everybody in here really knows or understands tarot. And there's always that underlying fear thing that people have been taught about tarot, that tarot is a bad thing or it's evil or all this kind of stuff. Can you talk a little bit before you go further? Can you talk a little bit about what that is, the evil piece of it is? And then also, can you give a description a little, like you're talking about the major arcana, the minor arcana, all the suits, all that kind of stuff. But again, not everybody knows, like I do. I actually have the Light Seers deck, and it's the only tarot deck I have, because I do oracle cards. I just never really got into into tarot, because for me, it felt like, I don't know how you guys do it. It just feels like a lot of, learning and a lot of doing and a lot of soaking in this information and feeling it and then being able to, work with it and all that. And I have more than I just actually was doing an edit of a friend of mine who does tarot as well. And she's the same thing. It's like she can just spew out all this stuff and it's like, blah, So if you could go over what the why, and I know you wrote this somewhere in something I read about the deck, and maybe it was in the book, why tarot is not evil or something like that.
It's not evil. Well, a tarot deck is cardboard. Let's
Right.
be real.
Right.
A tarot deck is cardboard. It has no intrinsic energy within it.
Right.
You can pick up a deck, all of this stuff about, well, you have to attune with your deck. No, you don't.
Yeah.
I've used decks right out, take the cellophane off, do a reading. It's you. It's you in connection. All the cards are, there's just a communication system. Tarot decks are not evil. That is a myth that has been put about by mainstream religion, because mainstream religion just wants to be the boss and doesn't want to have anything that it can't control.
Right.
And so nobody can control tarot, so therefore they term it evil. You must be talking to evil spirits then. Really? Are you sure? How do you know? You know, because you're a sensible person. You have a sensible head on your shoulders and you can tell the difference. You're not made of glass. You're not stupid.
Right.
And if you align yourself to your highest good, your most positive outcome. I mean, now there are a lot of people who disagree with this, but at Arthur Findlay, when you go to this big world famous college, they do not teach you any protection at all. Because basically what they say is, you are the one that attracts. You are the one. And if you align yourself properly, you know, that's what you're going to speak to.
So you don't need, that's what you're saying, is you don't need protection when you're saying you're aligned, right?
No, I don't use protection. I don't need protection. I connect in, as do all tarot readers. We connect in with the highest intent for ourselves and our client, and that's what we're aligned with.
Yeah, because as doing healing work and doing energy work and that sort of thing, and doing oracle decks and all that, I've been told the same thing. It's interesting because it does make sense to me, that when you align yourself with the highest good, is the best way I'm explaining it, then you don't need protection because you've already kind of got a light protecting you anyway, right?
But know yourself is the place from which all of this starts. And if you're a person who is worried or afraid or has anxiety or lives with a lot of fear and has a lot of shadow, maybe you haven't worked through your shadow yet, maybe you have that with you and you feel it, right? You do feel it. You know you have fear, you know you have anxiety. Then you know what? Do some protection work, because actually what that's going to do is that's going to calm you down and it's going to make you feel protected and safe, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
I would say tune into your own energy and know what you need. Right, that's the most important part of this. Know what you need and honor your needs. Don't say, oh, Janice and Caroline say I don't need protection. I'm just really scared, but I don't need it. Well, that's not going to help you any, is it?
Yeah. And I'd like to clarify something here. I mean, you know, like I've been doing this healing journey for my entire life. So I've learned a lot of different things related to this stuff, as I kind of mentioned before with the healing work that I've done. If you're just starting your journey or you're kind of in the middle of it and you are still feeling like, because that's one of my things is complex PTSD, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. And it still happens sometimes. But at this point, because of the work I've done on myself, I can now recenter where I couldn't do that before. And the challenge is our unconscious is very I don't know what word to use here. It's like if you're anxious, you are still going to attract, even if you're a good person, from your unconscious or your subconscious, you're still going to attract things that will create anxiety until you start learning how to walk through it and heal it and all that kind of thing. Where I think I'm on the right track with you. I want to make sure that they know, that you all know, when you get to the point of these moments of like, if you start working with it and you know you start to feel some anxiety or someone's told you it's bad and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, just sit down and breathe and center yourself and connect with the cards. And here's the thing, that when I started working with oracle decks, it's like these cards are beautiful. There's beautiful art on them. I can see some of the art and in the background as well, but it's like they're beautiful and they're connective, and it like it's flowy, and the fear isn't there when you're looking at this stuff. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as well when you start it, because if you do feel it, then breathe. You shouldn't feel it because it's just a.
Well, I think we all will read our own fear into various messages, and there is no doubt that tarot has some very challenging cards, and people get very upset about some of the challenging cards, which is why a lot of people get drawn to oracle decks, because they don't have any challenging cards. The fact is, life is challenging. Yeah. So, I have this card in my deck, which is a challenging looking card. Ten of Swords. That is a really scary looking card. But what that card is telling you is that your thinking is basically making you go into victimhood. It's like this is a victim, right? So this is overkill. It's overkill in your thinking. Your thinking is catastrophic. Your thinking is like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Right. So it's just basically telling you where you're at. I mean, that's the whole point, I think, behind these cards anyway. It's just where you're at in the moment. What's going on in your energy and all of that kind of stuff. So it has nothing to do with this card is the death card and you're going to die. It's not like that.
Right. No. And anyone that's been around tarot at all knows the death card does not mean death. It's interesting. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on the death card, but what it actually means is fear of loss of life. And that does not mean your life. It means a life. So it could mean the life that you envisaged with a relationship, or the life you envisaged with a job, or a life you envisaged with a thing.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I had gotten the death card at one point, I remember, and it turned out for me to be because I had such an intense fear of death at one point in my life. It actually started to open up into, I was afraid of living. I was afraid of life, and it kind of brought that story out for me to start, with the more deep healing and to do that process. So I'm not so afraid of life, and I'm not so afraid of death either. So that one came up for me. So that's probably why I brought it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I just wanted to talk about, really, because a lot of people look at the 78 cards in a tarot deck and go, oh my God, I've got to learn those. So overwhelming. And I mean, who has the life force to do that, right? It's God Almighty, it's a life journey. However, that's not how I teach. I don't teach card meanings. I teach card stories and how the cards link together in stories that we have all lived. When you look at how a line of cards together tells a story, and then you look at those 5 cards, and I can ask you in 30 seconds after we've gone through the 5 cards and I've told you the story, I can ask you, and you won't ever forget a single card, ever, because you feel it. Because you feel that story, and I've done that. I know that. I know how those feel. Okay, I've got those down. Now, when you connect with the stories in a way that has an emotional resonance for you, when those cards come up in a reading, you feel the reading. When you feel reading, you feel your client. And when you feel your client, you've got your connection sorted.
Right.
You're not connecting to your client. You're connecting empathetically through the stories in the card, because we share the same stories, and that's how we connect. That's how we connect.
Okay. All right. So I've got 2. I want to ask you a question, but I wanted you to do like a real quick explanation of what the major arcana is compared to the minor arcana. That way people understand what that means.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have 3 parts of the tarot deck. We have the minor arcana, we have the major arcana, we have the royals. which
I know that.
stands for, like, they're on the end of the minor arcana deck, but still they have a slightly different job. So most people see the minor arcana as being the everyday life, and this is what we do. I don't subscribe to that. In my system, that's not what it is. In my system, they refer to the energies that exist, the potentials that exist in each energy. So when we're looking at, say, the Suit of Cups, which is our emotion, our desire for happiness, our connection both to each other and the energetic world, our need for love, I need to give love and receive love, right? We have an ace and we have a 10. The 10 is the pinnacle. It's the maximum expression of that energy. Okay, that's the 10. The ace is the potential of that energy, and everything in between is every potential that leads to that energy. So we have 10 cards which each tell us something about one of the potentials that we could be unpacking if we start this relationship. Let's say it's a relationship. Every one of these potentials is something that we are going to have to contend with if we're going to create the 10. So we're unpacking potential, we're unpacking energetic potential. And each one of the suits refers to a different energy: our emotional and connective energy, our desire for happiness, our will, our confidence, our desire to act, our creativity in life, our bravery, our minds, our ability to think constructively, to think objectively, to solve problems and communicate effectively. And they add up to pentacles, which is experience. Your emotions, your confidence, and your mind create your experience. That's what Pentacles is. Pentacles is normally seen as work and money and earth energy. I don't see it as that. I don't believe it is that. I believe it's currency. People look at it and think money. It's currency.
People think everything's money. People think abundance is money. I've been there. Yeah. So it's not, I mean, there's more to abundance and pentacles apparently than just money. So yeah.
It's because you think of what experiences we trade our experiences.
Yeah.
The better quality our experiences is the more money we can earn. Right?
Yeah.
When you're 18 and you've got no experience, you're going to get a baseline job that pays you minimum wage. But as you grow in experience, so your income follows. But you can also be a poet living on a hillside in Greece and feel you're the richest man in the world because your experience is that you wish it to be.
And that's the abundance piece, because the abundance I feel comes from inside. And the inside is talking to these cards anyway, and feeding the information as well, right? Through the energy. Is that yeah. Okay, so and then the major arcana is
major arcana instruct on the potentials. So they form a grid. So we take the Fool and the Magician and we put them at the top and we call them separate because they are us using energy. The Fool is the potential of all things. The Magician is how we use and develop and make that potential real, being connected into the energetic world. They are us in microcosm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what we have, then we start at the High Priestess, which is our internal world, our subconscious, our superconscious, our conscious, and our intrinsic connection to the energetic world and to life. But it's all in here. It starts within here. So this is the first card. And then they align with the suits. So the first 5 cards is the emotional realm, and that aligns with the Suit of Cups. And they advise on the Suit of Cups. They're telling you what you need to do and have to create the experience of happiness you want. The next suit is the Suit of Will, which is Wands, which is fire energy. So we have fuel. Now we have fire, so we have an engine, right? So this is going to get us going. This is where we're going to be confident. We're going to how we use that effectively and optimally. Not overuse it. You don't be arrogant and stupid and reckless. right? You want to use it optimally. So the cards, in the major arcana, the Chariot to Justice, they advise on that. They give you the instruction manual as to how to do it. Same thing. The next ones are swords, which is everybody looks at swords and goes, "Oh no, it's horrible! Don't take it away." It's just telling us how we screw ourselves up with our minds. They're just like warning signs on a dashboard of a car. So this is when we've got the fuel and the engine, now we need a navigation system. Now we need a steering wheel. Now we need brakes. Now we need gears. That's swords. And the Hanged Man to the Tower gives us the instruction manual on how to avoid our brains screwing it up. Because it's our minds that do most of the damage.
Right,
We overuse our minds. We don't use our minds in balance. And then the next 5 cards, the Star to the World, they tell you the 5 experiences you must have in order to create a successful life. The whole thing is a recipe book, and it's fixed and immutable and flawless.
I actually had someone come in. She was telling me about the fact that she's been learning tarot her whole life. And she did a reading on me, but I also talked to another friend of mine who does tarot. And he kind of gave me an explanation that everybody does tarot a little bit differently. And I'd love to hear your take on that, because like the way she did was she laid everything out. And I was telling her about this trip that I'm going to take. And I was asking her I just said, pull one card. And so she starts, doing it, and it all start flying out. And she's like, well, they're talking to, that kind of thing. And I ended up with the World came out at the end at the bottom of the deck. And she laid out this whole story for me that was identical to everything that's happening in my life right now. I've never met her. And keep this in mind, please. I've never met her. And she picked up my deck and used my deck to do the reading. Right. And so we were done with this, and she laid out this whole story with the World at the end. So I'm glad you explained that piece of it. And then when I asked my friend about it, he was telling me that there's a couple of ways of doing it. He was like, she's psychic. So she's just using the deck as a tool where it helps for you to understand what it is. But then there's also readers who do it like he does. And it sounds like you do the same thing he does, where you're reading the story within the meaning of the picture. Like he told me to get the book and pull a card and then read the story. And then he said, this is how I can learn it, to connect with the story.
I mean, yeah, I get that. I mean, I think you've got to be for me, I don't teach book meanings anymore. I don't think it's helpful. Yeah. And I think trying to make sense of a reading through book meanings is almost impossible.
Oh yeah, I get that. But let me share something, because it wasn't about the book meaning. It was reading meaning for me, and then comparing something that happened in my own life to connect to what the book said. And then if and when I ever decide, which I don't think I've got too much going on, if I ever decide to read tarot for somebody, when that card comes up, for example, and I recognize my own story in that card, then I can know what's going on with this person or whatever. So that's kind of where he was going with it.
Well, that's fine. And with regards to the psychic versus reading the cards thing, I think it's a combination of the two, because the cards to give you a fairly nuanced language, and we'll have different styles of reading. That's for sure. We do.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to connect with a reader that you feel speaks your language and communicates with you in a way that resonates with you. Excuse me. For me, it's a combination of the two. So the cards are primary, and the language that I have developed with Obin, who is my collaborator in this, my energetic collaborator. The language that we've developed together is I think fairly nuanced now. So we use the cards together as a language and as a way of speaking. And so you see, spirit has a much faster vibration than we do. So the information when I've directly channeled or when I've had a direct energetic downloads is so fast. And it comes and it goes. It's almost impossible to retain because it sort of floods into your brain, but you don't actually process it. It just is. And then you try and it makes such perfect sense. And then, of course, it dissipates like a day later. You go, what was that again? And it was just like information overload.
Yeah.
So what the cards do is they give us a median between the two. So they allow, it's almost like they're filtering the information down at a speed that I can then assimilate.
Oh, so let me ask this question then. That's a beautiful statement, because what it's leading me to understand is that because it is the deck itself is material or manifest into form.
Yeah.
It's on the same vibration as we are, and it's easier for us to understand what those messages are when they come through the cards than trying to remember all of that stuff coming in, because there's always stuff coming through, right? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you mean?
Yes, but also don't forget that you can that information is also got to be filtered through the noise of your brain, the whatever crap is going on with you that day, whether you're in a bad mood or whether you're tired. I mean, I've read for people with a migraine or background migraine, not full migraine, but still read it because I'm not connecting to the client. That's a disaster. As far as I'm concerned, readers that say I connect to the client, don't do that. That's fraught with problem.
Right.
So if you have a blocked client who is just not open, you can't connect to them.
Yeah.
If you're not in the best place yourself and that energy is in play in the reading with your client, that's going to affect it. Of course it is. But when you've got a tarot deck in front of you, it becomes like the bridge. It's not affected by anybody's energy except by the language that's being asked for and given by the energetic world. It is a pure exchange.
Interesting.
That's all.
Okay, that makes sense. So before we get into the next thing, which I think we will all enjoy this part, but I wanted to ask you to just give, because you wrote the book too, it's called The Life Code, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to just explain a little bit about what the book is. And I don't know if it's connected to the tarot. Okay, yeah. So if you could do a real quick description of that, and then we'll get into something fun.
Yeah, I mean the book details how card meanings in tarot are just the tip of the iceberg. And what it does is it shows you tarot as a system for seeing life and the way we do life from above. For instance, you talked about your fear of life, and in the major arcana, we have coming up from the moon, which is fear, we have 4 cards coming up in a line that tells you how to deal with that fear. It tells you what you're afraid of and why and how to mitigate it.
Okay.
Up there. So at any point in this, so this system gives you the major arcana as a matrix of how to create joy, how to deal with fear, how to find trust, how to redo your life when everything goes arse end up around you, right? It's because it does.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it does. So it's like a recipe book, it's like an instruction manual, and it shows you the tarot deck in this new way of being. It's the same deck with the same cards, we're just looking at it from a different perspective. And when we look at it through that lens, all of a sudden it's the deck itself which has the answers, not a reading. Not a reading in the way we would normally do it. The deck itself will give you the answers you want without you even needing to do a a traditional reading.
Okay, so the book kind of goes into the way
Do
the tarot. Okay, okay, that's cool. That's really cool. That because I haven't spoken to anyone yet who has a book and a tarot deck. So this is really neat. All right, so Janice, now because I've experienced this, can you pull one card and seven flip out type of situation, like I mentioned? I'm gonna ask for a 2-card reading from your deck with us. And I'm pretty sure that it will ignore my request on the 2 cards because it'll do whatever it wants to do. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see what comes through, but not just for me. If you could do, because I know we talked about this, just do like that reading for me, but also for how that relates to the collective.
Okay.
You can do that.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will be 2 cards because I don't do flipping cards.
It will be 2 cards? Okay.
It'll be 2. If I say it'll be 2 cards, it'll be 2 cards. I'm really in charge of the process here.
Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing because
I'm quite strict here. I'm always
okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. Okay. All right. So let's have a look. All right. So we're gonna right. Let's take. I'm going to take 2 cards. So what I'm going to say is, let's just say over the next month, right? Let's keep it nice and specific. Over the next month, this has to be and should be the priority to lean into. This is what you need to be focusing on and be guided by. And then the second card is going to be what's going to undermine that and what is going to make that more difficult. So you should really look at kind of moving away from that. Okay, so this is what it's time for to focus in on. This is what to avoid because it will not be in your favor. Let's just have a look at that and see what happens. Okay, good. All right, so here we have this card. So this is what you need to lean into. So this is the 2 of Swords. So in your deck, you will have a woman there with swords crossed across her heart. She'll be sitting with her back to the ocean. There'll be rocks in the ocean. This will be the picture that you're used to seeing. If you have the Lightseers deck, that's the traditional Rider-Waite image. This simplifies it down. So what we have is we have stalemate. We have a skeleton playing chess, and he's not making the next move. So basically what this is saying is this coming month is going to be really, really important to address projects or ideas or action which is sitting in cold storage or you're not quite taking action on. And the reason you're not taking action on is because right now you don't see the win. So if I do this, lose, maybe, or I'm not quite sure I've got it yet, or I'm not quite sure I'm there yet, or I can't, it's fine, I'll get to it. I'm just not doing it now, right? So this is really important this coming month to focus on anything that is caught in no man's land. Anything that is caught in stalemate, okay? So what you have to turn away from, interestingly enough, is the star. And what the star tells you is the reason that you or whoever it is we're reading for here is not engaging and not making those decisions is because they're going, well, you know what, it's fine. I trust it'll be all right. It's just gonna be fine. I'm just gonna allow it to be. I'm just gonna trust. It's fine. I feel like I'm in a safe place right now, and I'm gonna get to it when I'm just gonna get to it because right now I'm feeling okay, and that isn't gonna help you because that is sitting in a safe space which is not confronting the mountains, right? So this is saying, actually, that's just a distraction. Do it. Do it. Don't say it's going to be okay. I'll get to it later. It's all going to be fine. I trust I'll work it out when the time is right. That's not the way to go. But that's interesting.
So yeah, thank you for that. I think I'm going to share a little bit of validation with what you just brought up. At first, like I've had 2 people tell me that I need to start getting my book going and that it has to be published next year. And when it comes from 2 completely different people, and this started leading into that, then I believe that that's something there, especially, you know, one was a medical intuitive and one was a psychic, and they both said the exact same thing. So when you first started talking, I thought it was that. And then when you kept going, this trip that I'm taking requires abundance, money, right? And me preparing for this and doing the things I need to do and spending the money, I was using those words you were giving me of like, everything will fall into place. I'm going to trust and, you know, finding a place and whatever. I haven't done that yet and all these kinds of things. And when you said that, I guess that means I have to just use the money. Right? Oh my God. So I don't know which one it is, but those are two pretty cool things because they've been coming up a lot with people.
Yeah. And you know what? It could be both.
Oh, it could be both. Yeah. I am so overwhelmed with stuff to do that both right now would be like, yeah, you were right on point. Do you still have those cards that you could show them and put them a little closer so people could see what they look like? Okay.
So this is the Two of Swords, and I wanted to bring a little bit of humor into some of these cards. So we have a skeleton playing chess because when we're not making the next move, life stays still. Often when we're just stuck, when we don't do a thing, when we don't make a move, life doesn't respond because we're not stepping forward. So when we step forward, life steps to meet us, right? So that's why we have a skeleton here, because this is stalemate. He's not making the next move, so there is no life.
Is making the next move. So you go home now, skeleton.
So maybe it's your book.
Maybe, because that one's a little harder. That one's been on the shelf literally without even being published for 28 years. So that might be the one.
Well, yeah, that would be a skeleton then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely a skeleton. This one is like progressively moving forward. The other one I shared, but the book's been, yeah, interesting.
Now, I'm going to tell you how this might apply to your book.
Okay.
So we can look at that, right? And we can say, okay, let's call that your book. And let's look at the star and let's ask why the star is the wrong card for you to action the book. Why is this not helping? Because what we have here again is we have a safe space, don't we? We have a sanctuary. And here we have some lilies. Now lilies are in remembrance. We have lilies, you know, it's a remembrance flower. So we send lilies to funerals and things. And so lilies are because we're remembering stuff from the past, which, you know, maybe stung, maybe wasn't easy for us, okay? But we remember that. This is in remembrance of. We're not living it now, but we are remembering. So we have a cup of tea and a book. Interesting, we have a book. And then what we have is we have a garden and we have a path and we had a gate and we have mountains. Mountains in tarot always represent challenges. So what happens is you have to leave the safe space and walk towards the mountains. Well, the mountains don't look very inviting, do they? Nevertheless, if you're going to get your book out there, you've got to cross those damn mountains. And that's the problem. And what you're doing is you're sitting in the sanctuary going, it'll be fine. It's safe there. My book is safe. My book is not being affected by its environment, right?
Makes more sense. Yes, yes.
It's sitting with all the potential intact, and I love it like that. It makes me feel better. If I put my book out into the world, it's got to go up into the mountains, and God only knows what will happen to it.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it. Validation number 3. Yeah. That's why, yeah. Anyway, all right, we're good now. I have some questions. Thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that information. And that was also inclusive for people who are watching as well. So take a look at the Two of Swords and the Star, and and whatever you are wanting to get out, but you're sitting and not allowing yourself to do it. So let's do this together. Okay. All right. So Janice, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you some questions I ask all of my guests. If you could offer one piece of advice to someone just starting their healing journey, what would it be?
You have no idea how wonderful it could be down the path if you just allow for the possibility.
That's amazing that you said that, because that is the exact same answer as card number 2. It's on the other side of the mountains. Yeah, I like that answer. Thank you. How do you define awakening?
Seeing life in the light in which it really exists. So when we see life through the shadow of fear, we don't see clearly.
Right.
We can't see anything. Whenever we allow fear or shadow or limitation to cloud our thinking, we can't see life in its reality. We can't see the miracle of life, and we can't see the miracle of the potential of all things. But when we learn to step out of fear, then life looks different. And suddenly everything is lighter and is in light. And that's what I think enlightenment is. You are seeing it in light. There is no shadow, there is no fear. There is only the miracle of what is everything. Now that is good and bad, but we're not afraid of the bad because we know that the potential is of all things. And we can choose which potential. We can choose. And that's the miracle. That's what I think, for me, enlightenment is.
No, it's awakening.
Wait, awakening. Well, awakening, it's the same. For me, it's awakening into that vision. Because that awakening is, I've now woken up. It's now daytime. I see everything. I see everything in a new light.
Yeah.
I see everything in the light. It's still the same
It's still
thing.
the same thing. Yeah, that makes sense. I've never had anybody loop it like that, but looping as I'm listening to it, it's like enlightenment and awakening is the same. It is the same thing, because that's we're moving like this, everything opening up.
Out of the night. We're coming out of the dark.
Yeah. Okay. So again, back to the reading. Pay attention to this piece of the conversation, whether it's enlightening or awakening, because it just re-emphasized and reinforced that 2-card reading for us too. Same thing. Okay. Just wanted to point that out. What do you believe soul divinity is?
It is just the truth of who we are. It is, look, we are all divine beings, and our soul is just that. Our soul is the divine part of us. It is the Christ consciousness within us. It is our magical link. It is what connects us energetically to source, to spirit, to each other. And I think our soul is the core of that. It is the unchanging part of us. And for me, that's as good as I can describe it.
No, it's not just good. It's better than that. So thank you. That was beautiful. How can people get in touch with you?
Janis King. .uk, and that's Janice as in Janis Joplin, so J-A.
Nice. Now, Janis Joplin, for those of you in your Gen Z years, if you don't know about Janis Joplin, that was back in the 70s and the 60s. So there's that. But so JanisJoplin.com. No.
JanisKing.uk.
.uk. Okay.
Because I'm English, right? So .uk, that's easy to understand.
That works. And they can get a copy of the book and the tarot deck and all that stuff.
They can do everything through there. You can book readings, you can buy the deck, you can buy the book, and you can look at what I teach and the way I teach. It tells you how I teach on there as well. Because I don't teach like other teachers. I don't teach individual card meanings. I teach the system.
Right. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap?
What I would like is for more people to, and I'll just backtrack a little bit. because actually I have a student who's been studying with me currently, and we did a little treatise on the 5 cards in the major arcana, which is all about our will, the the chariot to the justice card. And she said, oh my God, I wish they taught this in school.
Yeah.
Well, it would be so useful and powerful. She's actually a teacher. And what I would like is that people investigate this way of seeing tarot, not necessarily as a way of being psychic or a way of doing readings for other people, but a way of changing your own energy and your own way of seeing the life process, how you do life, the method by which we navigate. And I wish that I could give this system to people. I wish I'd had this system when I was 19. I would have done a whole different job.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I hear you.
Right? Right? So we've got no means by which to know how to plot a course. So what this does is it shows you life from above. It shows you the way to do it. And you go, oh my God, that's amazing. Look at that. You can see it there. You don't have to be psychic to do it. You can just see it. It's there for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really passionate about people taking control of their own life's energy and their own life path by getting under the hood and really figuring it out.
That's good. And it just gave me an idea of something I wanted to also follow you up with on. That is that explanation also validated again the reading. And what it said to me was that, working with tarot is mostly grounded. I mean, it feels woo-woo, but it's not. It's grounded in even some logic is in there.
Sense it's grounded.
Exactly. It's like, this reading telling me you've got a book. You've been sitting on this book for 28 years or more, right? Now it's time. It's just reading your energy. Now it's time to start focusing on this book and getting it out there and getting on the other side of the mountain, because who knows what could happen once you're on the other side of the mountain, right? I mean, that could open up a whole new world, a whole new story, a whole new all kinds of things, So I want to say that, attaching to what you said, is that when we recognize, instead of being afraid of something, instead of being fearful about something, especially when we don't really understand how it works, we create this tension within our body that contracts us. And when we open to things that we don't understand, and we open and learn about things that we really don't understand, you might actually find something that really resonates with you and moves you along your journey. And that's what's so cool about this, about Janice and her deck and her book and all this. And, Janice, thank you so much for opening your heart and sharing your journey with us today. You've shown how even in the darkest moments, the soul is guiding us home. And your path through fear and awakening reminds us that we're never truly lost. We're being invited deeper into who we are, especially through this deck. And to my audience, may this conversation remind you to trust your own unfolding and listen when your soul speaks. Thank you for being here with us on Awakening Soul Divinity. Thank you for being here. Click on one of the videos below to keep going on your healing journey. And don't forget to subscribe.